Welcome to a very special edition of The Jump. I'm Rachel Nichols. I'm alongside two of Kobe's former teammates, NBA champions, Matt Barnes, Robert Horry. Today we are celebrating the legacy of Kobe Bryant, who of course 1 year ago today died tragically along with his daughter Gianna and 7 others. And coming up on the show, we are going to have a number of people who are part of Kobe and Gianna's lives joining us, plus numerous current NBA stars reflecting on the first time they faced Kobe in a game. We've been working on this project for weeks. We cannot wait to share it with you. But first, there was no one like him. I've worked in this business for more than 25 years. I have covered everyone from Muhammad Ali to Michael Jordan, from Joe Montana to Tom Brady, from Serena Williams to Tiger Woods. And I can tell you for sure, there has never been anyone quite like Kobe Bean. He could burn with intensity 1 minute and make mischief the next. He was wildly creative, but at the same time, maddeningly precise. He was not perfect. He had flaws. He did things that he would come to deeply regret, but he also understood that what you did next, how you move forward, that mattered deeply. And he made the absolute most of every minute, every day, every year that he was with us. I actually saw him not that long before he died, and I remember so clearly that day how we were joking about having crossed the threshold of having known each other for more than half our lives, and what that meant about how old we had both gotten. Of course, now, all I can think about is how young he was when he was taken from us. How young that sweet, funny, smart, talented girl was, and what a tragedy it is for the family that was left behind. And to that end, we want to make clear that over these next 2 hours, we are keeping front and center the words of Vanessa Bryant, who recently posted on Instagram that she knew today would be full of remembrances of her late husband. She wrote, quote, "I want to thank everyone that has handled their media coverage respectfully. To everyone else, please reconsider your news story and look at your footage through the eyes of their children, spouse, parents, siblings, and family. Celebrate their lives, not the day they lost them." So that is what we are going to do today. We are going to celebrate the extraordinary. And we're not the only ones. Last night, Kyrie Irving arrived at his game wearing a Kobe number 8 jersey. And he told the cameraman, "You know who I'm rocking tonight." Robert, Matt, I know this day has been on the calendar. You knew it was coming. But Robert, why don't we start with you? What do you remember about your friend today? What's it bringing up for you?
You know, for me, I got to know Kobe when he was a rookie. And I got traded to the Lakers, and it was all this hype around this high school kid. And I'm like, okay, hadn't seen him play yet. So I get into practice, and it's a shoot around. And he's going 1,000 miles an hour. And I'm looking at him like, dude, slow down. He's like, I got to get better. I got to get better. And that was just his whole mentality. He wanted to get better each and every day. And I'm looking at him like, dude, it's shoot around. Nobody's going 100 miles per hour. But the thing about him is you just knew he was destined to be great because he had that energy and that work ethic like no other. And for me to have that moment to see what he could become and to have a lot of conversations with this guy and share some of my knowledge with him. And I remember when we finally had that first one-on-one, the first thing out of his mouth was, "Tell me about Dream's footwork." I'm like, "I'm doing all right. Thanks for asking," But it was just that. He wanted to get better.
Nice to see you too, Kobe.
He wanted to learn from the guy that had the best footwork in the game. And that's just who he was. His whole mentor was to get better and to try to be the best at that game. And all I could do was sit back and just respect him and just watch him and, believe it or not, learn from him. Because even though you're a vet, coming off 2 championships, you watching this guy put in his work each and every day, and you learning from like, oh, I can't let this young fella outwork me. So you just wanted to go on and move on.
Yeah. I mean, mine is kind of post-career. Obviously, our battles that have been well documented, but just the person outside of basketball, Kobe, the man, the father, the businessman, and how, although basketball was over, he still attacked everything with that same passion, desire, and focus. The way he fathered, how adamant he was about trying to put his last 20 years behind him, his greatness in basketball, and be known for what was next. He was always trying to innovate. He was always trying to get better, get himself better. Oh, you guys found this footage.
This was you, of course.
So
with your sons.
I mean,
and
really,
Kobe.
he was Uncle Kobe to the boys, and like I said, since when we became teammates, the twins were like 3, and he started, treating them like he was his own, bringing them shoes all the time, hugging them, talking to them, bringing them in the locker room. So he was just a special person. Obviously, we know how amazing on the court he was, but he did just as amazing things off the court as well.
I loved you talking over the past year a little bit about how you guys were these great rivals, right? And of course, we all know the flinch video, the whole thing. But that when you did become teammates, the kinship you found with each other, stages of your lives you were going through, and just sort of...
It was an instant brotherhood. We were both going through things in our personal life, and we really just bonded. Practice, after practice, post games, going out and grabbing a drink or grabbing some dinner, and really, like I said, getting the chance to really learn each other as men outside of the basketball court, and that's what my fondest memories of him was, and just really getting a chance to know, because Rob will tell you he doesn't let too many people in, and if he allows to let you in, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, once he lets you in, it's a wonderful thing, like he said, and there's so many moments that we share privately, and it's amazing to me that he has moments with everybody, and it's different. Every story is different. It's almost like he put everybody in the category and says, okay, I'm gonna talk with you about kids, with cars, you about footwork, and to me, it's almost like it was 3 or 4 different Kobes out there, that he was in different places at different times, because you hear the stories and you're like, I was around that time. How did he get there? What is going on? But it's so many stories. I think having one of my other favorite stories is just when you have those long plane rides.
Right.
And you have the moment to just sit down and you talk about everything outside of basketball. I talked to him about his times growing up as a kid in a foreign country. And he talked about me growing up in the South and how it was, and and a little thing, and all of a sudden he's like, dude, you don't play spades? I'm like, every black person in America plays spades. You don't know how to play, and you sit there and you teaching this guy how to play spades. It was just like a big brother kinship, and there was so many memories like that you sit back on a day like today and you just think about it. Even the last memory I have of him is meeting him at Mamba Academy a week before this tragedy happened, and just laughing and joking and talking about everything other than basketball. That was my favorite part.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny too, post-career, Matt, as you say, I mean, he was so focused, as we know, for so much of his time. And Robert, you playing with him from the moment he stepped onto a basketball court in the NBA for the first time, saw that development, right? Tracy McGrady has talked a lot about how they used to be so close, and then there was basically a 10-year period where Kobe was just so tunnel vision, so consumed by the game. And then that ended. And even in the later days of his playing career, and then certainly post-basketball, it was almost like he was starving to me. To me, it felt like he was starving for all the things he had missed in that tunnel vision time. And as you say, Robert, he wanted to be everywhere. He would love to sit and talk to you for 45 minutes. He would do everything. And I loved getting to see that part of him. And I think that's part of what makes this so hard, is that he had so much left to do. And Gianna, as you said, Matt, you were around each other's kids. I got to be around Gianna a few times in a way that just really get to know her and know how special she was. She could have ended up being the greatest women's basketball player ever. And Diana Taurasi will tell you that too. And just the potential that we lost. And I think it's a great, not that we need it, but today is a great reminder to hug your kids, hug your family.
Always.
And remember that the impact you have on everyone around you matters. Because I think that's what we see when we see all of this outpouring of love and affection for Kobe from other NBA players, from people here in Los Angeles, where he was literally the symbol of the city for 20 years, for people who knew his beautiful family, his daughters, his wife, Vanessa. The impact you have, the way you touch people in every interaction, in every moment, it matters. And it mattered with Kobe. And we'll be talking about that through the rest of this show. In fact, coming up, you will hear LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, and many more talking about what Kobe meant to them from the very first time they got to play against him. First, though, right after this break, we're going to check in on current Lakers, right? Beat the Cavs last night to remain a perfect 10-0 on the road. LeBron scored 46. Credit his performance to trash talking from a Cavs